What's going on, everybody? Spunky 991 coming at you another video. Coming at you with my Week 9 weekly NFL schedule prediction. The Eagles are, of course, on a bye week this week. So this is going to be a week of stress-free football for me. Eagles, of course, will be playing again next week against the Dallas Cowboys, which is probably going to be newly acquired receiver Golden Tate's debut. But yeah, no Eagles game, no Eagles game this week. Just kick back and enjoy and watch everybody else play stress-free, including the Thursday night football game tonight. So with that said, let's just go ahead and get started on this schedule for this week. All right, the first game, which is going to be played tonight, November the 11th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. You have the Oakland Raiders traveling to Santa Clara to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Both of these teams, this is a battle of the Bay. Both of these teams, play in the Bay Area, of course. The Raiders not too much longer because we all know they get ready to move to Vegas. But for right now, yes, this it's still the battle of the Bay. Neither one of these teams are doing particularly well this year. I think they both only have one win, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, neither team is particularly doing pretty well. The Raiders right now, of course, are led by head coach Jon Gruden. The San Francisco 49ers, of course, are led by Kyle Shanahan as their head coach. Quarterback for the Oakland Raiders is Derek Carr. C.J. Beathard will be playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are have Pierre Garçon at wide receiver. Like I said, neither one of these teams particularly doing well. The game's being played at Santa Clara. But I got the Raiders going to Santa Clara beating the San Francisco 49ers tonight. Now, moving on to the Sunday night football game. Excuse me, the Sunday football games. November the 4th, the 1 p.m. Eastern, starting with the 1 p.m. Eastern games. You have the Atlanta Falcons traveling to Washington to take on the Washington Redskins. Dan Quinn's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Head coach of the Redskins is Jay Gruden. The Falcons quarterback, of course, is Matt Ryan. The Redskins quarterback is Alex Smith. Falcons have Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu at wide receiver. The Redskins, of course, have Adrian Peterson at running back. They also acquired during the trade deadline. They acquired safety Clinton Dix. Redskins, of course, were victorious in their game last week against the Giants. Games being played at Washington. I got the Washington Redskins losing. I got the Falcons beating the Washington Redskins. I got the Falcons going to Washington and beating the Washington Redskins. Moving on to the next game, you have the Detroit Lions traveling to Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Vikings, 1 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Lions lost their game last week. The Minnesota Vikings also lost their game last week. Detroit Lions, of course, they have Matthew Stafford at quarterback. They have Matt Patricia as their head coach. Mike Zimmer's the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Their quarterback is Kirk Cousins. The Vikings, of course, have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs at wide receiver. Detroit Lions have LeGarrette Blount at running back. They have Darius Slay at corner. This game's being played in Minnesota, but I got the Detroit Lions traveling to Minnesota and beating the Minnesota Vikings. Next game, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, of course, are led by John Harbaugh. Yeah, John Harbaugh, head coach. The head coach of the Steelers, of course, is Mike Tomlin. Quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens is Joe Flacco. Quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, is Ben Roethlisberger. Wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got Juju Schuster. You have Antonio Brown. This game's being played in Baltimore, but I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Baltimore, beating the Baltimore Ravens. Next game, you got the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. Kansas City Chiefs won their game last week. The Browns lost their game to the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. They fired Hugh Jackson earlier this week. Greg Williams is now going to take over as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs, of course, have Andy Reid as head coach. They have Patrick Mahomes, who's playing at an MVP type level this year at quarterback. Baker Mayfield's the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Running back for the Chiefs, of course, is Kareem Hunt. They have Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. They have Travis Kelce at tight end. The Browns have Jarvis Landry at wide receiver. Yeah. Games being played in Cleveland, but I got the Chiefs going to Cleveland and beating the Cleveland Browns. Moving on to the next game, you got New York Jets traveling to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins. The New York Jets lost their game last week. The Dolphins, trying to remember, I believe the Dolphins lost their game as well. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. Yes, they did. They lost their game to they played the Houston Texans, lost their game. Yes, they did. Okay. But yeah, of course, this is a AFC East battle. The New York Jets are led by Sam Darnold as their head coach. As their quarterback. The head coach of the Miami Dolphins, of course, is Adam Gase. They have Brock Osweiler at quarterback. This game's being played in Miami, and I got the Miami Dolphins defeating the New York Jets at home. Moving on to the next game, you have the Chicago Bears traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. Chicago Bears were victorious in their game against the Jets last week. The Buffalo Bills lost their Monday Night Football game to the New England Patriots. The Bears, they have Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. They have Jordan Howard and Cohen at running back. They have Khalil Mack at linebacker. The Bills have Sean McDermott as their head coach. Derek Anderson is starting at quarterback for them. They have LaShawn McCoy at running back. They just recently acquired Terrell Pryor at wide receiver. They have Kelvin Benjamin at wide receiver as well. This game's being played in Buffalo, but I got the Chicago Bears traveling to Buffalo and beating the Buffalo Bills. Moving on to the next game, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Charlotte to take on the Carolina Panthers. This is the last 1 p.m. game. The Buccaneers lost their game to the Bengals last week. The Carolina Panthers were victorious in their game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Buccaneers have announced that they're going to be starting Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback again. They benched the struggling Jameis Winston. The Carolina Panthers, of course, have Cam Newton at quarterback. The head coach of the Buccaneers is Carter. Ron Rivera is the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Wide receiver for the Buccaneers, you have Mike Evans. You have Deshaun Jackson. At tight end, they have O.J. Howard. The Panthers, of course, have Funches and Torrey Smith at wide receiver. They have Luke Kuechly at linebacker. They have Greg Olsen at tight end. This game's being played at Carolina. But I have the I think Fitzmagic is gonna play pretty well, and I got the Buccaneers beating the Carolina Panthers. Now moving on to the 4:05 p.m. games. You have 4:05 p.m. Eastern games. You have the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Chargers are led by Phillip Rivers at quarterback. The quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, you have Russell Wilson. Mike Williams at wide receiver for the Chargers. You have Doug Baldwin at wide receiver for the Seahawks. You have the Griffin twins at linebacker at corner, respectfully, for the Seahawks. Pete Carroll's the head coach of the Seahawks. This game's being played in Seattle, and I got the Seattle Seahawks defeating the Los Angeles Chargers. Next game, you have the Houston Texans traveling to Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. These two teams just made a trade, and during the trade deadline, the Broncos traded Demaryius Thomas to the Houston Texans for a 4th-round draft pick. So this would be Demaryius Thomas going against his former his former team in Denver. Bill O'Brien's the head coach of the Texans. Vance Joseph's the head coach of the Denver Broncos. The quarterback of the Houston Texans, of course, Deshaun Watson. Quarterback of the Broncos is Case Keenum. Like I said, the wide receiver Demaryius Thomas now plays for the Houston Texans. They also have DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver as well. They have J.J. Watt and David Clowney at defensive end. For the Broncos, Emmanuel Sanders is at wide receiver for the Broncos. They have Roby and Harris Jr. at corner. They also have Watt. They also have Von Miller at linebacker. This game's being played in Denver, but I got the Houston Texans traveling to Denver and defeating the Denver Broncos. Now for the 4:25 p.m. game here, you have the Los Angeles Rams traveling to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints. The Rams were victorious in their game against the Packers. The Saints were victorious in their Sunday Night Football game against the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams are still the only undefeated team in the NFL right now. They have Sean McVay head coach. They have at quarterback, of course, they have Jared Goff. They have at running back, they have Todd Gurley. They have Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald at defensive tackle. They have Brandon Cooks as well at wide receiver. The Saints, of course, have Drew Brees at quarterback. Their head coach, of course, is Sean Payton. They have Kamara at running back. This game's being played in New Orleans. And you know what? I think the Rams are going to take their first loss of the season this week against the Saints. The Saints look pretty darn good overall against the Vikings. And I think the Saints can beat the Rams. So and this is being played in New Orleans as well, which is one of the loudest stadiums in the league, the Superdome down there in New Orleans. And I got the Saints defeating the Rams. But it should be a great game regardless of who wins this game. I expect to see a very good football game there. Now, for the Sunday Night Football game, you have the Green Bay Packers traveling to New England to take on New England Patriots. The Green Bay Packers lost their game to the Rams last week. They nearly won that game. The Patriots won their game on Monday Night Football to the Buffalo Bills. The Packers, of course, are led by Mike McCarthy, a head coach. The head coach of the New England Patriots, of course, is Bill Belichick. Quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots have Tom Brady at quarterback. Clay Matthews is at linebacker for the Packers. They have Randall Cobb at wide receiver. The Patriots, of course, have Hogan, Elderman, Josh Gordon at wide receiver. They also have Gronk at tight end. This game's being played in New England, but I'm gonna say that I think the Packers, who I feel like they should have beat the Rams last week, I think they're gonna go to New England and beat the Patriots this week. So yes, I have the Green Bay Packers going to Foxborough and beating the New England Patriots. Now, for the last game here is the Monday Night Football game. The Tennessee Titans are traveling to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. The Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken, they had a bye week. Yes. But this game's of course being played in Dallas. Mike Vrabel's the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. You have Jason Garrett, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Marcus Mariota is the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. Dak Prescott's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have Ezekiel Elliott at running back. They acquired Amari Cooper. I guess he will be making his debut at quarterback for them. At wide receiver for them. This game's being played in Dallas, and as much as I like to pick the Titans to win this game, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Cowboys to win this game. But obviously, I'm gonna be rooting for the Titans to win. But I'm picking Dallas to win this game. So there you have it, man. That's the schedule prediction for Week 9 of the 2018 NFL season. Eagles will not be playing this week, of course. We're on a bye week. We'll be back next week against the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, that's my schedule prediction. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're new, subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you think. You have a schedule prediction, of course. I'd love to see it in the comment section. But until later, as always, let's go Birds, fly, eagle, fly. Spunky 991 is out. Peace.